All right, so what I'm going to show you guys today is I'm going to show you guys how to use SketchUp for schools in order to create the blocks from our measurement packet that we got the other day. So in this assignment, you need to recreate blocks A, B, and C. Okay, so what I've got pulled up here is I've got the answer key for blocks A, B, and C. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start off by simply creating box A. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm going to look at what my dimensions are. My width is 21.5 millimeters and my height is 30 millimeters. So that means I'm going to want to make a box that's two-dimensional that's going to be 21.5 by 30 millimeters. So I'm going to go back to my SketchUp for schools and I'm going to come over here on my left-hand side. So what I've already done is I've already created a new document using millimeters, retitled it Measurement Activity Blocks. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click the rectangle tool. So again, I click the rectangle tool, I click and drag the area that I want to make the rectangle. Now obviously that's way too big. As I look down here on the bottom, it says 731.82 by 1540, so that's way too big. I want mine to again be, I think that it was 21.2 by 30. Okay, so I'm going to type in 21.2 comma 30 and click enter, and bam, there it is. It's much smaller. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom right on in. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in using my zoom window tool, click and drag. Zooms in quite a bit. I'm going to use my orbit tool to make it a little bit cleaner so that way I can see a little bit more of it, see a little bit more of it, and then I'm going to use a two-finger scroll on my trackpad in order to zoom in a little bit more. Now, the next block that I want to do is block B. So if I look at block B, okay, this one has some depth to it. Okay, so I see my width is 31 and my height is 25, and then I've got my depth to be 21. Okay, so I'm just going to simplify these measurements a little bit for you. These are the measurements that I got. I'm going to simplify this to 30, 20, 25, and 20. Okay, so I'm going to first make one that's the depth and the width. Okay, so that's going to be this dimension and this dimension that's right here. So I'm going to make it 20 by 30. So on SketchUp for schools, I'm going to click and drag with my rectangle tool. Okay, and so I'm going to do a 20 by 30 block. Okay, again, I click and drag, and then to get the exact dimensions, I just type it in, click enter. So there's my 20 by 30 block. Okay, now I know that according to my key, which I've got right here, I want to make the height 25. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over on my left. I'm going to go over to the push-pull tool, click on that push-pull tool, make sure that I'm on the right face, and I'm going to pull it up. You'll notice on the bottom right, that number is increasing, and I want to get it up to 25. Okay, now obviously you could spend all day trying to get super close to 25, and you might never get there. Okay, but what you can do is let go and just type in 25 and click enter, and then it goes to exactly 25 millimeters. So now that's block B. Moving on to block C, which is a little bit trickier. So again, block C, okay, what we've got is we've got this shape that's right here. Now when we look at this, again, I'm going to simplify and round these numbers to 20, 30, and 30. But if I look at this base of my shape, I'm going to have a 20 by a 30 millimeter base. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start off with. I'm going to start off with, again, with a 20 by 30 millimeter base. Okay, so I'm going to, again, go to my rectangle tool, click and drag, type in 20, 30, click enter. So that's my base. Okay, now what I want to do is, obviously, if we look at our key, this shape is at two different heights. Okay, so it's got a section that's right here that's at a height of 30 and a section that's right here that's at a height of 10. Now, from this side, or from this edge to this edge, it's just 10 millimeters. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to draw this line that goes across my two-dimensional rectangle that I just made. So here's my two-dimensional rectangle I just made. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the tape measure. I'm going to use the tape measure tool. I'm going to click on the endpoint, and then I'm going to move over here. Now you'll notice that on the bottom right, you can see what the change in dimension is. I'm just going to go ahead, type 10, and click enter. It puts a little tiny mark there. Okay, I can zoom in for you so that way it's a little bit easier for you to see. So I'm going to zoom in. Okay, you'll notice there's that tiny little dot there. I'm going to use that measurement tool on the other side as well in order to make that 10 millimeters. Okay, so again, type 10, click enter, bam, I've got 2 points there, and then I'm going to use my line tool to connect those two dots. So I'm going to go ahead and connect those two dots from the guide point to the second guide point. And then I've got my two different edges. Okay, so again, now looking at my key, I need to make a dimension, or I need to make one edge that's elevated a little bit higher, up to 30, then the other one's only elevated up to 10. Okay, and that smaller edge is gonna be the one that's up to 30. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my push-pull tool, pull it up, okay? And again, I can just go ahead and I can type in 30, click enter, bam. There, I've got that like that. And what I'm gonna do next, whoopsies, sorry about that. Let's come back here and let's go to my orbit tool so that way I get a better view. And I'm gonna zoom out using a 2-finger scroll again. And now I'm gonna use my push-pull tool to elevate this face up 10. So I just put it up a little bit, type 10, click enter, bam, there it is. And that is going to be blocks A, B, and C for the measurement packet activity. Then what you do is just go to Google Classroom, you click add or create, and you can submit this to Google Classroom. And again, make sure that it's saved before you go to do that in your Google Drive, so that way you can go ahead and submit it. And that's all for today.